Hardleg and his friends, they're gonna play a lot of games. It's Legsplay.
Communist M&Ms. They all taste equal.
Communist M&Ms melt in hand and not in mouth.
People are like M&Ms. They may be different colors on the outside, but they're all pretty sweet on the inside.
Oh,
that's the cannibal way of living.
And welcome back to Legsplay. Hardleg here with Cannibal Bowler Radio over there. There's two things that make me unique. I'm a cannibal, and I like to go bowling on Sundays. Along
These
with
are my
Bootleg Drew,
things.
Yeah, what's up, people?
whose name is not an acronym of any kind. We're here, we're grinding, we're one more episode. I know that's probably sad knowing that like this is going to be the last episode of the series for now, and all we're going to do is be fighting enemies. But hopefully, you enjoyed yourself. You had a good time.
Yeah.
It's not the last time we're doing this period. It's just going to be.
It's your new outfit.
That's actually a really cute outfit.
It's the same thing. It just doesn't have the thing over it.
And
yes! Look at that.
He's the best
around.
No one's ever gonna take you down.
All I can think is you will protect the village.
Oh, boo.
Boo. I would have gotten that joke a lot better had I not up the entire delivery.
Yeah, we got a little bit of
All I think about is like looks like the Cobra Kai kid, and now I think is sweep the leg. But Master, you got a problem with that? No. That's no mercy.
No mercy in this dojo.
No.
Comment in the comments if there's mercy in your dojo.
Or if there's a Lucio, or possibly a Zenyatta.
Boo.
So you guys have been playing Overwatch
yeah.
more. You've been trying to catch up with me.
I haven't been playing a lot.
Right now.
Oh, nice.
Even despite the Smurfers.
I'm gold.
But you guys we all play on different platforms, don't we?
Completely different platforms.
Well, they said Blizzard said they kind of wanted to try, and potentially in the future, cross console platforming.
That'd be good. It's just like you just say cross-platform. I'm like, no, not the PC people. No, scared of that.
I thought I read somewhere, but again, I don't. It couldn't.
I don't read.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how the news is these days with all that fake news going around.
All those false truths or whatever.
So,
but
it is. What happened to your arm? Is that just the thing?
That's just the thing. Yeah, I'm just getting like
swole.
Yeah,
you're just gonna be a guy with no hands. You're just gonna be like a Siru on one hand.
I have mace for hands. Going to the bathroom is difficult.
So you're saying
smashing it.
You're saying about Overwatch?
No, I wasn't actually gonna. I was gonna say something about fake news.
Oh yeah.
After I took that big old burp. Yep.
Yeah. Nice.
Hardleg confirmed Nazi because he burps. Yep. But no, it's weird because normally I'm the kind of guy like I've always been the advocator of like whenever someone
speech.
Not it has nothing to do with that.
Don't interrupt. Just let them finish the story.
It has to do with whenever people are like, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened, or oh, this is going to be. I'm always the kind of guy who looks to history. Like they've been saying that like the world is going to end or that civilization is going to collapse since like ancient Roman times. And like even like you talk about the fall of Rome, but if you look at that, there wasn't like a day that Rome completely fell and then the Romans just turned into barbarians. Like it was a slow process of them going to like serfdom and Middle Ages, and for people living out in the city, outside of the city, it wasn't like.
Oh yeah, there's a story about how like someone was like Rome has fallen. They're like Rome has fallen. I didn't even know we were under Rome.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were under Rome anymore. I thought we were Byzantine Empire. Yeah. But yeah, everything goes in slow processes, unless you're like literally being camped off into camps like Holocaust style.
Or you're the French.
Yeah, no.
No, come on.
But yeah, I'm just saying like
I meant like the French Revolution. It's just like.
Oh well, even then, like most of the population didn't die in that.
Well, yeah.
That was just sort of a thing. It's just one of those things, and even especially like with lesser stuff, like people do that with politics, but then people will be like, YouTube has changed their monetization policy. YouTube is over. The entire platform is like, the YouTube's changed a lot. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
I like to go to videos that are like on news subjects a year from now where people are overreacting and be like, so, was this the end of the world like you thought it was? Did everything happen? But lately I've just been getting like really down about the news and politics and stuff. Like more so than usual. And I've always thought about like, what would I do if this ever becomes like, if this really takes off? Like, say I make like Legend of Lefty and it gets optioned to a movie, and I make millions of dollars, and I invest that. I make the restaurant I always wanted to do, and that takes off. And then I invest in some things, and those work out, and I end up becoming like a multi-billionaire. And I think what I'd want to do more than anything is make a non-profit news organization. Because I think one of the things that really is affecting the world right now is the fact that, like, news stations have to make a profit, which means they're paid to make sensationalist things, because that's what gets people's attention. And there's not so much or they get paid by big benefactors to, like, huge companies will tell them to push this narrative or that narrative for the right or the left or however they want to do it. So I think having a news station that's just like, I'm going to put you on a stipend, you're not going to pay taxes, you're just going to, like, get money, and your job is to do nothing but report on truth as factually as you possibly can.
You want to do the Citizen Kane kind of thing.
Did Citizen Kane have a non-profit newspaper?
No, it wasn't so much a non-profit, but he was very into the truth. He wanted the truth to be said. He didn't, like, there's a very poignant scene. We both saw the movie, so we know.
Yeah. Citizen Kane's one of my favorite movies.
Where a very poignant scene where this woman that he had been accused of having an affair with, and is called a singer, and so he does this whole thing to get her to actually sing in a performance. And when it comes down to it, she's very mediocre at best.
Yeah.
And literally, he comes in on his friend who is supposed to write the review of this, and he is passed out drunk writing a rather terrible review. He pushes him aside and begins to write the review
himself. And
he does not edit it. He does not change it. He pretty much presents it as how it was, and how it was very, again, mediocre at best.
Yeah.
So,
but then he fired his friend.
Yeah, but there's still, like, the idea. That's one point that stuck with me, is that he was very.
He wanted the journalist. The thing that stuck with me is that he wanted people to write good things about his life, because there was a part earlier where he was talking about having people write stuff. But when it came to his friend's integrity, he was like, "My friend wanted to write this. I will not force him to say differently."
So yeah,
like, you can't work here anymore, but you can write your piece. Citizen Kane's a great movie.
Yeah.
You've never seen Citizen, because it's one of those things, like, I always hear, like, oh, one of the great movies ever. People are like, when will video gaming get its own, like, Citizen Kane? And then I was like, okay, greatest movie ever, show me what you got. And I sat down and watched it, and then at the end I was like, was it? I thought it was just me and Deadleg.
No, it was me, you, Deadleg, and I thought it was you, Bootleg.
No, I don't think he was there.
No, I wasn't there. I've watched it on my own, though.
Yeah.
I know it was you and Frank that essentially we watched it with.
And especially for me, as someone who, like, it's weird because I don't think I projected that much, but I do feel, I always worry that I'm, like, too cocky or too arrogant. Like, I go between these stints of thinking that I'm, like,
same here,
the greatest thing ever, and then realizing I'm not, so I always kind of go out of my way to make sure, like, I'm not wrong in this situation, right? I should look at things from every perspective. Because I feel really right, but I've been wrong before. So seeing a story about a really prideful guy who does a lot of stuff, and then, like, showing how that can be bad for you is really, like, it resonates with me.
Right.
I think that's the same reason. I think Ink is, as mentioned, Ink is my favorite movie. It's got kind of the same,
similar,
like, anti-pride sort of thing.
That's the thing, is that, I mean, I have this weird thing where I'm, like, really, like, interested in, like, the 7 deadly sins for some reason. I don't know. That's just, like, that part of the theology, of the Christian theology, really got to me.
It was never really Christian theology. It was always the Catholic Church. But let's keep going.
Is it? I thought that was a Dante's Inferno thing.
It was sort of.
It
was an early Catholic Church thing, but yeah.
The point being that thematically, that pride is always supposed to be like, yeah, they're all 7 deadly sins, but pride is the most deadly because it consists of a little bit of all of them. Because pride, like, encaptures all of them.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So that's one of the most interesting ones to make a narrative out of, because it can contain so many different themes within one narrative.
Well, that's kind of why one of my favorite movies, silly as it is Groundhog's Day. The main character of that story is
an asshole.
He's an asshole. He does not see the forest for the trees. He doesn't see anything. He's just doing his job and wanting to just do this type. And this, obviously, if you've seen Groundhog's Day, if you haven't, go see it. It's really fun.
It's a good movie.
His day keeps repeating over and over again, so that he actually has to slow down. He has to bring himself into life, and take his pride out of all of this, essentially.
I'm not sure if Groundhog's Day is very like prideful.
No, it's more.
That's a more like modern day thing about like like you said, slowing down your life.
But I wouldn't say it's so much pride, because he wasn't so much a prideful person as he was just kind of an asshole. And there's a difference. A prideful person could be like the most charitable person in the world, but they'll be like, you know, they only do it for the reason because it makes them look better.
Yeah.
Because they like can throw the money at it, but they'll stop instantly the moment someone like from that organization slanders them or something.
Yeah.
Like Bill Murray was just kind of this asshole, was just kind of a pessimist about everything. We thought, yeah, he was better than it, but he thought he was above it, but he wasn't above everyone else. He was above that kind of journalism, which in a way is its own pride. But like the whole movie isn't about him changing as a prideful person.
It's not entirely pride, is what I would say.
Yeah,
like I said, there's a thing about sort of like slowing down, enjoying the simpler things in life, enjoying the people around you and stuff like that. Which is, like I said, it has its own merits, but it
doesn't have any.
Although the thing about like making stories about pride, there's so many stories that do it.
We got
Nice.
We got it with Bootleg.
You know, I can use it more than once.
Yeah.
Well, she can use that one. No, she can only use that one once.
She can use most of them for one shot.
And yet she captures more of them than anyone else.
Yeah,
it's true.
But there's so many stories that do it like terribly. Like I remember being a kid and like not understanding why pride was a bad thing, or like only thinking that pride was bad in the Vegeta sense, where you're like, I can never be wrong.
Right.
Like unrealistic pride. And it wasn't until later I sort of got this idea of like, no, pride is like when you work really hard at something and you know you've reached a point where you're like decent at it and other people are not as good at it, and it's difficult to stand back and have that perspective and realize that like just because people aren't good at something doesn't mean they don't have a right to do it, or that you can't still learn something from them.
Well, everybody needs to learn. As a person who has been that guy who has
really?
Not the pride part, the other part. Being that guy that doesn't know how to do anything, and yeah.
Well, I don't mean that made me sound really mean. Sorry, no, I don't picture you as the person who's like, I am better than everyone.
I have mastered the things.
Yeah, because you were like the epitome of modesty to me.
Well, I have. Okay, I will give you my secret shame, sort of. There's a new coworker at my job. We'll call her
Ashley.
Tammy.
Tashley.
Tashley. Let's
Okay,
call her Tashley.
we'll call her Tashley.
So Tashley's doing her job.
Tashley is a young lady who inquires to speak a lot. And when she speaks, not much is said that is of merit. She has many opinions, and many of those opinions are very thin. And I don't mean that in the sense that she has actually stated several opinions that are very...
Not well thought out.
Not well thought out. That's a better idea of it.
It's one of those things where she's like, these are my opinions, and they're valid because they're my opinions. And you don't realize, like, opinions are different from facts, but that doesn't mean you don't have to back them up with something.
Right.
Some kind of justification.
But, I was told...
Ooh, yours does more damage, too.
I was told by my coworkers, before I actually had met her, that she would be a talker. And... being as I'm a guy who is a very talkative person, and realizing that I would not, and seeing her personality and seeing that I probably would not have enjoyed a conversation as much,
right?
And also realizing that if we did start a conversation, it would obviously lead to me not doing my job. It would be very much, it would gum
you
up
knew
the work.
She would distract you.
Right. I would distract her, or she would distract me.
So
I essentially pertain myself to being aloof to her, and whenever I talk to her in very short bursts, and telling her what she needs to do and what she needs not to do.
You don't engage in conversation.
I do not engage in conversation.
That just sounds like a reasonable, level-headed thing to me.
She is now afraid of me.
She's afraid of you?
Yes. She is afraid of me, on top of the fact that she is, again, not a very emotionally stable person. So I have actually, on some occasions, trying to get her to do her job correctly and being a little bit too blunt at points, have made her cry.
Really?
Yes.
I cannot see this. Maybe it's just my bias as you as a person being so nice.
Maybe you just don't know how extremely sensitive this woman is.
I understand how extremely sensitive she is, but
No, I'm talking about Drew.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not that you are unexpectedly, like,
Brutal.
brash in a way that we didn't understand. It's no, this woman is like a snowflake on a hot stove. Like, you could melt her with, like, a blow of your wind.
Got it. Okay.
You could,
You
but
could poke her with a pillow and destroy her ego.
it doesn't make me feel good to make someone else cry, and so
yeah.
it's
No, it shouldn't make people feel good to cry.
Most people are like, oh yes, the tears of my friends
Yeah.
and co-workers.
But she is very so I don't know. It's something that I'm not exactly proud of. That I made. What do we call her? Tasha.
Tashley.
Tashley. To make Tashley cry, but also on top of the fact that it's she is a person who is very as much down on myself as I am, and seeing myself in. There's been another coworker, call her Little A, who has been such down on herself, but she is much younger, and I've treated her kind of like a little sister, and I've tried to nurture her and tell her that she can do these things.
You gotta believe in the me that believes in you.
But with Tasha, I've been very much more like, you're old. She's actually older than me. You should know how to do these things. I have not given her enough slack, and that is the problem that I feel. That I've been very, been a bit too brutal.
I mean, age is just a number, man.
Yeah.
Just because she's older than you doesn't mean she may not be as mature as you.
Mm.
You may need to give her
Some
some
deep
justification.
stuff here,
Yeah,
we went a strong way.
Yeah,
we went a long way
we
from
went
fucking
from what was the
Ploppo.
Ploppo.
We went from Ploppo to fucking deep stuff. Don't put your shoes on. We ain't done yet.
And then,
bitch. I might be.
but yeah.
Thank you, Drewmanian. Thank you for that.
That's funny.
But that was that's my secret shame that I wanted to. Thank you for listening, viewers.
I make girls cry. Yeah, you'll have to comment in the comments if you like these more personal episodes where we talk about things.
How they've affected us, or if you want to hear more about Ploppo.
Yeah.
Or
Or if you like the mix. I like to think that, like, that's what makes this genre so interesting, is that, like, I could be so candid with you guys and talk about things, and then also just be a rascally goofball.
Right.
It's like you're actually sitting with us as friends and just, like, communicating.
That's like
but not too close of friends, because we want our space.
But like that's the thing, is that's what made it appeal to me the most, is that it was just literally us sitting and talking, and that's what fans should, I hope, enjoy the most.
Yeah.
That, we interact with each other naturally. There's no script.
Yeah.
There's no,
I'm not sitting here like I need to push this narrative to show them that I don't like fake news. It was like, no, I've legitimately been thinking about this the last couple days.
Actually, that makes me think that might be why I don't enjoy watching them as much. Mainly because it's when I hear something like that, I don't want to just sit back and listen to it. I want to interact with it.
Yeah, there have been a few times when you've watched Legsplays and you like texted me a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't watch very many Legsplays.
Right.
But I still think, like I said, my big problem with you and the Legsplays has always been, you don't need to watch them, but go to the episodes you're in and respond to the comments like a day afterwards or something like that.
I'm getting better at it.
Comment in the comments a question for CB Radio to answer. Ask him whatever you'd like about his life.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. But you know what? I think we're done. Unless you got anything else you want to add. I mean, we can go long.
I mean, I don't
Ploppo
really
no.
I don't have anything too deep or introspective to add to this pretty interesting conversation today. I've been pretty much a side note, as I'm the goofier of the.
No, you gave us trash can stories.
Trash can stories, yeah. I mean, again, as a person who's not made smart decisions and has been affected by many mental states and other things, I just gotta say, I'm, in that situation, I mean, it's all kind of perspective. You can't really. I mean, yeah, you can make her cry and stuff, but, you just never know what's really going on in her head. And but you shouldn't try to predict that, though. I don't think that's the problem. That's my problem with people who say, like, oh, you need to look at it from their perspective. Like, I understand, trying to understand their reasoning, but, like, if you just change yours specifically to cater to someone else's because you think of them as, like, weaker or unstable, I don't think that helps.
Yeah.
I think that only nurtures their
their weakness.
Yeah, the weakness. And I don't like to say it that way, but you know what I mean.
Let's change that up then. It nurtures their inability to rise on their own.
Right, exactly. I think so. But, you can all correct me if I'm wrong or off base, but that's what I feel sometimes.
Well, it's that whole thing where it's like, I feel like I'm pretty liberal, but maybe that's just because compared to, like, Missouri which is very conservative. But it's like when you get to stuff where people are like, I'm being triggered, and it's like, well, unless you have, like, literal post-traumatic stress disorder.
You're not being triggered.
You're just being annoyed, and you need to get used to being annoyed, because a lot of things will annoy you. There's,
like, being triggered by, like, PTSD, and then there's being triggered if you have some form of addiction or some form of, like, there are other ways of being triggered, but just being like, oh, I'm being triggered by...
Yeah, unless you have, like, a serious mental disorder that's been, like, diagnosed.
Well, one of my friends...
But that's what I kind of like, because being triggered has sort of become this thing where it's like, it's a joke now.
Yeah.
Because people realize that, it was just oversensitive people be like, I'm so triggered right now. I can't watch this scene.
I'm so triggered. I'm a horse from a different, a 1950s show.
So, like, I was playing at my locals, right? And I feel bad telling this story, but, like, me and my friend Eric, and he is African-American, and I only point this out because it's important to the story. Okay, so, me and Eric went to some locals, and we were playing games, and, we were all making jokes, and then he cracks a joke. He himself cracks a joke about like a fried chicken joke, right? Like something that like normally we take as racist, but like Eric cracked the joke, so we all kind of laughed. And then literally this woman,
is this? I feel like I already know where this is going.
And she literally said, "That's offensive," to Eric, who made the joke. And he goes, "No, it's not. Why is it offensive?" And she's like, "You should be offended by that, shouldn't you?" And I was like, I never thought I'd see this in real life. I only thought this was internet stuff.
I thought I'd only seen this in
a white person defending a black person who made a black joke about themselves.
Yeah, like it was like I didn't understand it. I couldn't understand why she would say that. Because I'm all for being like treating people. I like celebrating. I like celebrating differences and enjoying what makes us all unique people, because we are all unique people. That's what's interesting the most to me is like. Us three here could have 6 different opinions on the same thing, and that's super fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But like, why would you need to change how Eric feels? If Eric wants to make that joke, let him make that joke. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you can't laugh at something, it holds too much power over you.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. I think it might just be because it's so weird hearing these people like. I usually don't like to name drop things, but like one guy I keep hearing a lot about is Sargon of Akkad. I'm not sure if you know him.
I have no idea.
He's this like commentator. He claims to be like a classical liberal, but he's very much like everything is SJW's fault. Everything is the liberal media's fault. Everything is social Marxism degrading our culture by allowing this stuff. And it's like, sometimes he makes halfway decent points, but he blames everything, absolutely everything, on like SJWs. And it's like, I've only experienced maybe one of those in my entire life, and then a couple people who are like mildly liberal but not really.
Right.
But apparently, or not apparently, but in California, I imagine there's a lot more of those. And so maybe to them, they're like, the whole world is just full of all these hyper-liberal SJW people. But it's like, for most of the United States, you're not. For most of the world, we don't deal with those kind of people.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I understand that there are big problems out there that are caused by many people, but when you start blaming other people for the problems out there is when it becomes a problem. I feel like it's if you don't start with yourself and how you.
Not even that, but it's more like, I don't know. It's weird because, like, to be fair, he does from the few things I've seen of him, he does like, here's the solution. It's usually like an impractical solution.
Right, but
burn them all.
No, I don't know. It's just really weird because especially like the PewDiePie thing happened recently, and this is probably coming out fairly close, where he said some things about like he made some jokes that had to do with Nazi imagery. Like if you're not familiar with him, it's literally like has nothing to do with making fun of Jews at all, and everything to do with mocking
the people
mocking him and being taken completely out of context. And Sargon made a video about it, and it's like the first 5 minutes are like, oh yes, he's making very excellent points, and then he's like, oh, this is being completely out of context. His videos have been like this. This is this. It's all the SJWs and the liberal media doing this to twist his words out of like, you had me until there, buddy. Like it's like you have half the formula and
Right.
not the half. Like it's not just that it's like all the media. Everything's kind of shit. But
Yeah.
hey, either way, it's
Yeah,
been
it's
fun.
way past the time.
It's
when
way
it
past
even
the
Way
time.
past the time.
I'm
and-
sure we've offended at least someone.
I
But
think we've offended at least several people over the course of these episodes.
but you know what? That's like I don't want to be like the Philip DeFranco show, but I consider this a conversation. I'm a smaller YouTuber. I'll answer the comments. If you guys have questions or if you disagree or if you have a different point, like say it. Like I'm interested to know, and I won't. I'm
There's
not
gonna be a
hate
lot
you.
of comment in the comments.
Yeah,
here.
I'm not gonna hate you regardless of what you say.
Well, I
like,
kind of hope for a lot of comments in the comments because that's one of my favorite things. To interact.
Oh no,
with
I mean, like you've already sent something out as a question to me. There's one involving my story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And there's one involving this.
there's gonna be a lot in the end slate,
Mhm.
but
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed this playthrough. Hopefully you
Uh.
like this. If not, I mean, we could probably change it up later on.
Yeah.
For now, though, we're out. Next time on Legsplay,
something else.
I think, if everything goes according to the plan, it shall be Yandere Simulator.
Oh.
Should be
Nice.
interesting. See you guys there.
Preview.
Good luck. Have fun.
Wear more pants.
Comment in the comments if you comment in the comments. Comment in the comments if you comment in the comments. If you like these guys, please subscribe.